Welcome back to the Rookie and the Vet podcast. I'm your rookie, Dante Furco, and that's your vet, Darren Leeds. We're here to talk a little Illinois basketball. I know it's football season now, but Illinois basketball, they're going to take off for Spain this week.
Tomorrow, right?
Yep, they're taking on Valencia, the Real Madrid All-Stars, as well as the Catalonia All-Stars. A couple exhibition matchups, but we're going to see a little bit. Well, technically we're not going to see because it's actually not televised, nor can you really watch it at all afterwards. But the coaches are going to see a little bit of this team for next year, and what it has to offer for next year. But it's pretty. I don't know if disappointing is the right word, but it sucks nobody can really watch it. I know Illinois fans are eager for some basketball.
Eager for basketball. It'd be interesting to watch it. And I was going to ask. My first question for you is, this is kind of out of the ordinary, right? Mm-hmm. You don't typically see, these Power 5 schools going overseas to play months before the season, do you?
Yeah, some do, some don't. For the majority, they don't. I know maybe it was Nebraska. I think they just came back. You see it here and there. For the most part, I've seen a bunch of football teams will go over to countries like that. They're not playing anybody, but kind of for a team bonding and history kind of thing. I know. I watched a little bit of a segment a couple years ago on Michigan going over there, and I don't think it was Spain. I think it was Greece, and just kind of bonding as a team, learning different cultures, and I think that's kind of so other players can learn the cultures of their teammates or kind of have more respect for, backgrounds that aren't theirs. And so it'd be interesting to see this Illinois team. I wish we could watch. It'd be awesome.
And how long are they over there for?
I believe a week.
Okay.
Three different exhibition
games in a week time.
But they're going to be over there for about a week. I know they have like one off day or 2 off days. Luke Goode was telling us. But yesterday, on Wednesday, able to see Illinois' practice. They opened up for the media. Got to see a little bit of this team, and we could talk about kind of player by player. But things looked like they were moving. They don't have many practices under their belt. You get 10 in the summer until the NCAA kind of cuts you off because it's not your season.
And they've already exhausted all those 10 practices.
They've exhausted. I'm not sure exactly when their deadline is kind of cut off. So maybe it was kind of a quick 10 practices, or if it was kind of spread out over time. But in those practices, I think they looked good. There's a lot, obviously, you need to improve on before the season starts, but there's a good returning group where they're already clicking, so it's a matter of just adding new pieces in.
Yeah. And I know it seems like, and I was kind of high on this guy coming in, Marcus Domask.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like him and TSJ are kind of gelling a little bit. I follow the team on Instagram, so I get kind of my insights a little bit from there. They'll share some practice video and stuff. I'll try and watch some of your stuff that you shoot.
Perfect you bring Domask up. He's actually now hurt. He, I believe it's something with his hammy. He's got to just day to day.
Okay.
He was out of yesterday's practice, so unfortunately didn't get to see much of him, but I know I've heard great things about him.
I'm just excited because he seems to be the one that can bring this three-point threat back to Illinois basketball. That was something they really incredibly struggled with last year.
Yeah.
That and free throws. But, three balls, that can help when you're in those tight games get a little bit more separation.
Mm-hmm. With Domask, I see him kind of as like an RJ Melendez fill-in.
Okay.
Where he could start. He could come off the bench, but he's going to get you some buckets.
Right.
And whether it's at the rim or shooting the 3-ball, which he does very well. I'm pretty sure it was nearly 40% last year. Good guy. I was bummed to not see him play. Underwood was unsure if he was going to play in Spain, so we'll kind of see if the injury is kind of bothering him. I don't think they want to push anything in the summertime. These games don't mean anything.
Right.
You don't want another wing like that hurt like they did with Goode last year where he missed probably 75% of the season. But yeah, he's another player to kind of be excited about. Incoming now not incoming I guess anymore, but transfer from Southern Illinois. Arguably one of their best players in their program in a long time. And one of, not the best obviously, but somebody that can bring a lot off the bench and from that starting lineup. Another guy I will mention, that's coming in. We were talking about this before. Quincy Guerrier.
Yeah.
I really like what Quincy kind of offers. He's 6'8", and he's somebody who can stretch the floor. He's a big. Is he a center? I don't know, but I think he could definitely fill that role.
And that's the one problem, again, that we kind of talked about earlier today was there's no center on this lineup. It's guard, forward, guard. Like,
and you could say, like, Dain's a center, but, like, he's really... I think...
I mean, he's the biggest guy on the team.
Yeah.
Well, besides Coleman.
But, like...
Size-wise, he's the biggest.
Yes.
Weight-wise, at least.
Yep, and the thing is with Coleman is, like, you wouldn't look at him as a center, really. Because he's a wing guy who can shoot. He can play the 3-4. That's kind of what Quincy is. Quincy can kind of be interchangeable 3 through 5. But if Underwood wants to run a small ball lineup, which I think he might, you go Quincy at the 5 because of how well he can shoot from beyond the arc. I saw him knock down a lot of threes on Wednesday at their practice. So I think that's big for Illinois because when you have everybody on the floor that can shoot, it's going to create a problem because, say, Coleman ends pushing it into the paint and Quincy gets out, it's going to cause some issues with the defense because they don't know who to guard, where to guard. So he's somebody that can dunk on you down low and shoot from beyond the arc.
So you think that's going to open up a little bit more scoring opportunities, both on the perimeter and in the paint as well?
Hopefully.
Just kind of getting some of those mismatches, if you will?
I think so. Anytime you have a stretch big who can shoot the 3, it creates issues for the opposing defense. I mean, if you're kind of looking at teams last year, it was so easy to game plan for Illinois because all they had to do was lock up Dain. I mean, Dain didn't shoot from beyond the arc, barely from mid-range. You only saw him in the paint. So you didn't have to move much. All you had to do was put a big man down in the paint, and you were set. You had 4 men outside, but now it's going to be just rotating around that outside arc. I saw a lot of screen play done yesterday in practice where just constantly running different screens to move guys from inside to outside, back out to outside. And so I think Quincy adds a lot to this lineup, I would say. I think it's a big ad for them. I think it's a very underrated ad, but it's a big ad.
And kind of a journeyman who's been all over the place because started with Syracuse, then went over to Oregon, and now he's here at Illinois.
It's 5th year, so he's been around the block, and he's got experience. Hopefully brings leadership. I mean, that's something they kind of lacked last year.
Yeah, and that was one of the big things last year was there seemed to be some kind of locker room drama. We never quite really heard what it was, but those were some of the rumors.
That was one thing that Brad Underwood kind of addressed on Wednesday is that this team is a lot more mature. They're a lot more focused on what they're doing. They're gelling well. It's just kind of not. It's working on all cylinders kind of thing. Where feels like he has a complete team in terms of on the court, off the court, and just a leadership role. One thing, speaking of leadership, I'll go to an incoming freshman, and that's Dravyn Gibbs-Lawhorn. I was really impressed with him and his leadership as a freshman watching practice. He was yelling at guys, not in a bad way, picking guys up. He was just doing what you'd see from maybe a senior. Kind of thing. Really commanding the defense, really commanding the offense. He was not afraid to get up on Ty Rodgers when he had the ball. He was slapping the floor, kind of like, he was ready to go. Freshman, I was very impressed with. He's from, I believe, Montravert Academy down in Orlando area. But he's somebody I think you could be excited for at the guard position.
Yeah. And you think he takes over that starting point guard role, or
no?
Is he going to kind of play backup?
Probably back. I would say back. I think he's somebody that's going to steal minutes from other guys. Like, he's that good. Like, if you're someone like Sencire Harris, who could be in the starting rotation, but maybe a bench guy, you should be worried. Like, Dravyn Gibbs-Lawhorn can really shoot from outside. He can play defense, and he's somebody who will slam it on you. Like, he's a guy he's 6'1", but he could dunk. He's somebody that will play in the league. I have no doubt about it.
Okay. Because I know in some of our previous podcasts, I've given you my definition of what I love to see in a point guard. Mm-hmm. Do you think this guy fits that mold that I've kind of talked about before, where you're a little smaller, quick, can shoot, can dribble, can drive?
I don't know if it's tough. I think he could definitely be a point guard. I wonder if he'll be molded kind of into a shooting guard.
Okay.
Where he's kind of off the ball, but don't be surprised if he is an on-ball point guard. Where maybe they test things out if things with Rodgers don't work at the point guard position, and he kind of inserts himself in, because he's going to steal minutes, and he's going to be a dominant freshman, I think. And in a year when things open up and, you know, some of the guys like Terrence Shannon Jr., Luke Goode, Coleman Hawkins, those guys end up leaving that starting rotation, there's no doubt about it. He'll be a 15-point per game scorer, I think.
Okay.
Because that kid is not afraid to shoot. In a good way. He's somebody I left that practice very, very impressed with. And I don't think I'm the only one. So, someone definitely to keep an eye on. We'll see how he does over in Spain. I really want to see the box scores with him. But somebody that's high on my list for this Illinois team next year.
You think there's some kind of underground piratey website where someone can maybe, if they really wanted to, stream this thing?
Maybe. I don't even know. It's probably gonna be such a small gym.
Gotcha.
That it's not even anybody set up. The thing is probably the only cameras there will be Illinois.
Yeah.
And then maybe the teams they're playing. Like, nobody ever ended up seeing anything with their secret scrimmage with Kansas last year.
Yeah.
Or on the women's side with I think they played Notre Dame in their secret scrimmage. So I'm going to say no. I think they kind of locked those things down, especially since you don't want the Big Ten teams
getting any film on you.
Yeah, that was kind of something like with practice yesterday. Like, you can't post like full videos of all their drills just because you don't want to kind of let things out to the Big Ten teams. It's so early on. How much are you really going to learn? But something you gotta keep in your back pocket so they can kind of surprise teams coming in, especially since I know they're Illinois' opening games against Marquette, so that's gonna be a big ranked game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And Illinois is gonna come into this season unranked?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the way they finished last year, how can you put them ranked?
Yeah.
But it's probably gonna be like fringe outside the top 25.
Okay.
I just find it hard to put him in the top 25 right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But I guess we'll see. And we got some ways to go, see what happens. But I feel like there's definitely teams in front of them, especially with what we saw in the NCAA tournament, that you're going to see those, especially like those lower major teams are going to make their way into the top 25, I think. Just a lot of their play this last season, FAU being one of them. They're going to steal spots from these big-time teams. So I would say no to answer that question.
Okay.
But we'll see. Who knows?
All right. So I know TSJ, Coleman Hawkins coming back was a big storyline, especially during the off season. What do you think their move is this year? Where do they take that next leap to, one, improve their game, but two, improve this team and make Illinois be able to kind of go a little bit deeper into the NCAA tournament this season? One,
they got knocked down their free throws. TSJ had a couple games last year where it was kind of iffy with him, but I think just shooting, like they those two I feel like don't hit many shots from the mid range. It's either in the paint or it's either from beyond the arc. I think they got to add more scoring to their game. It felt like a lot of times last year they were afraid to shoot.
I feel like that
for some reason. Like, there were some games where Terrence would end up missing maybe his first 3 shots, and then you wouldn't see him take another shot until the final 5 minutes or something. So I always felt like it was just very hit or miss with them last year in terms of their scoring production. At the same time, obviously, you want to spread the ball, you want to spread the wealth, but it just felt like when things were down, they didn't do much to kind of pick them back up. So that's going to be a big thing this year. They got to improve on their stock. I mean, they both want to play in the NBA. They were both fringe second-round picks.
Yep.
So if they want to get into that first round, you got to be better. The standing's going to show it. I think if Illinois finished that year with, say, a little bit of a run in the Big Ten tournament, a little bit of a run in the NCAA tournament, you would have seen their names higher up on the board just because I don't know, you get in those big games, and those are what kind of teams want to see.
Yeah.
So if you're scoring.
The pressure and the spotlight, if you will.
So, I mean, all eyes are on those two this year.
Yeah.
They're the big fifth-year players. I mean, Coleman's his fourth year, so he's a senior, but TSJ, he's a fifth-year player. He came over from Texas Tech. He's got a lot to prove this year because he won't get another chance.
Right.
Like, this is it. He's got to make the most of it.
So just leave it all out on the floor this season.
And hopefully, I think last year he took a lot of, like, he played a lot of on ball, like where he was kind of running the point, which just wasn't right for that offense. They kind of mixed it around with Jaden Epps, but he was a little bit out of the in and out of the lineup. Sky Clark left. Sencire Harris was an interesting point guard, but Terrence Shannon Jr. held the ball out. Hopefully he's off the ball and is able to just kind of shoot, which he needs to do. But he's an attacker, someone that can really take down the rim.
Yeah, and say half those guys you just named are no longer on the scene right now because Epps and Sky Clark gone. So,
but somebody that will be taking over that point guard position, or so it seems like. I mean, watching practice and everything we've seen in the media is Ty Rodgers.
Yeah,
which I don't really feel like he's a point guard. That's where I'm very, like, confused about all this. I don't know if it's a we don't have anybody else kind of thing, or if it's a we really think he's a point guard. He just seems like more of a shooting guard, small forward kind of guy.
Okay.
But he looked good yesterday, commanding the offense. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm very curious to see how this experiment goes.
I mean, it definitely, if it's anything, I would call it that. Just to kind of see, to see what this team, again, is going to be capable of. But, again, it does seem like it is kind of a small ball kind of style. A lot of guards, couple forwards.
That's what it was last year.
Yeah.
It just felt like a makeshift lineup where there's just kind of guys thrown in.
And even that Matthew Mayer was not even a true center, if you will.
He's just a tall power forward that could stretch the court, but he never was really put at, like, the 5 position, but like sometimes when they went small, him and Coleman were the tallest guys on the court. And he was probably like 6'9", maybe 6'10", probably not, maybe 6'8".
I always thought he was taller than Coleman, I guess.
He could be. I mean,
don't know.
When you get in front of Matthew Mayer, he's a tall and lengthy guy.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. He worked out. I mean, he did a summer league with the Rockets. He played pretty well. I mean, it wasn't until like the 3rd game where he actually got in, and then he started averaging like 12 points per game. So that's something to keep an eye on too. Heading into the year if he gets a 2-way contract.
Okay.
But, I mean, he's not on the team anymore.
Yeah.
You need to worry about him.
Right.
But, somebody I will add, because we were talking about the point guard position, is Justin Harmon. He's somebody who I think maybe they'll experiment with sooner or later.
And that's the guy coming over from Utah Valley.
He looked good. He shot a lot yesterday. Missed a decent amount. Made a decent amount. But somebody not afraid to shoot the ball. I don't know if he's, I don't want to say good enough to start in that point guard position because he's playing at Illinois. He's a great player. But yeah, I think he's someone they may experiment with sooner or later if it doesn't work out with Ty Rodgers. But he'll be definitely somebody off the bench that I think's good. He's got that experience. I mean, that's what you need.
Yeah. Or would it be too crazy to go back to like a 2005 Illinois style with the 3 guards and kind of what that team was able to do, but keep that backcourt a little bit bigger.
Well, I wonder if that's kind of what it would be too if Luke Goode in the lineup. It's so weird because I don't consider Luke Goode a guard.
No,
like he's more of a wing, but he's not like a tall forward. Like he's 6'7", and I mean that's, I guess, tall for college.
I mean, he's up there with Dain Dainja and...
But, like, when you're in front of him, he doesn't look that tall. But I just don't consider him a guard.
No. I wouldn't consider him a guard.
But, I don't know. Luke Goode's another guy who I think can add a lot. Kind of like Marcus Domask. I mean, both considered guards, but they're wings that can shoot the ball. And hopefully we get a full season of Luke. I mean, last year he had the foot injury.
Yeah.
Kept him out, I think, until February, maybe.
He missed a good chunk of this. Pretty much, he was out until we got into the new year.
And I didn't see much of... I mean, I saw him here and there during this season, but the season before, where he's actually healthy playing, I never really saw much of him. So I think a full season with him in the lineup could be good. Well, I mean, will be good for Illinois. His production level, I guess we'll see. But he's another fifth-year guy. Or no, he's a junior. Okay, so yeah. I feel like I've seen so many photos of him from the past.
Yeah.
It feels like he's been here forever.
No, we had the posters somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's gone now. They all fell off the wall.
Yeah, but he's somebody that, if he's locked in, could be a big shooter for Illinois.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And I know that was the one thing that was the big draw big draw for him was his shot-making ability. Mm-hmm. And so they definitely missed that last year.
Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, we're basically wrapping up this lineup, but yesterday, seeing Amani Hansberry, big freshman. I mean, he's already 6'8".
Yeah.
Somebody that once, I think after this year, I think he'll get a little playing time this year, but not, a lot, not like 20 minutes per game, maybe like 10 to 15, maybe less.
Okay.
But he's a freshman he's tall, physical. I was just looking at a photo on Twitter of, his progress throughout the summer and the amount of muscle he's put on. So if these Illinois trainers keep working with him, I mean, he's going to be dominant in the paint. And I'll be curious to see if they use him kind of as a center. Maybe in a year or two, if he grows a couple inches, he could really be that center that Illinois needs. I mean, he's listed as a forward. I'd say more power forward. But I saw good things from him. I saw some kind of lackadaisical things from him. Even Underwood saw it. He was getting kind of frustrated. But, I mean, they're young.
Right.
They are young. But him and Dravyn together, I think, could be a force, going forward.
As long as they stay,
As long as they stay.
The way the transfer portal is nowadays, I mean, I feel like loyalty is, one, it's big for a program. Mm-hmm. Two, that's how you continue to draw in more talent and everything. Mm-hmm. If you got people leaving every which direction every season, then you're just going to continue to kind of just put a team on the floor rather than building a team at your program.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully those two build with Illinois and kind of stick with them, because I think they're two exciting pieces. They're recruited for a reason. I mean, Dravyn was a highly sought-after recruit. And then next year they have even more guys coming in that are going to bring in. So I think the future's bright with this team. And then, I mean, you have Nicolo Moretti, Sencire Harris, if he sticks around. There's a lot of good young guys that can really bring a lot to the table going forward, especially when you lose. I mean, you're going to lose Terrence Shannon Jr., you're going to lose Marcus Domask, Justin Harmon, Quincy Guerrier, Coleman Hawkins, Max Williams, like the list goes on and on. Just Luke Goode stay for his final year. So there's a lot to be excited about with Illinois basketball.
All right. Well, looking at this roster so far, who's your starting five?
I mean, I would say they run Ty Rodgers at the point, Terrence Shannon Jr. at the shooting guard. Then you got, I think they go Luke Goode at the 3, Coleman at the 4, and Quincy at the 5. Because I would just be surprised.
Keep Dain out of the starting 5?
I think so. I mean, it's tough. Dain, I mean, he's one of their tallest and biggest guys, but Quincy's a senior who's, I think, brought over for a reason. I don't see, unless things get bad, I don't see Quincy coming off the bench. I just think I think he brings way too much to the table shooting. He's a decent defender. I think he is more of a threat in the paint defending than Dain Dainja. But I don't know. It could either be that Goode at the 3 and then Quincy end up being at the 5, or Coleman at the 3, Quincy at the 4, and Dain at the 5, and then they bring Luke Goode off the bench. But I also then think that takes shooting out the game.
Yeah.
Where that's something they definitely need, especially I don't think Ty Rodgers is the best three-point shooter of all time. So, I mean, that takes shooting out the game. And then that only leaves Terrence Shannon Jr. and Coleman Hawkins and a little bit of Quincy to really shoot from outside the paint. So, what do you think?
So yeah, let's go with TSJ at shooting guard. I like that there. I want to say Justin Harmon at the point, but from what you were kind of talking about, it seems like it is going to maybe kind of fall to Sencire Harris.
Or Ty Rodgers.
Yeah. Or maybe we give
Dravyn. It could. I just feel
it's interesting because, you know, you can plug and play so many different scenarios or just have, you know, maybe that 3-guard system. I was always a fan of that back in the day. And it worked for Illinois way back when. I mean, basketball's constantly evolving, but I mean, yeah, you need those big guys inside. So again, I'd probably go Coleman, Dain, Quincy, TSJ, Ty Rodgers.
Yeah. That's what it could be. I'm just curious to see what they do with Goode. I think it's all going to depend on Goode. If Goody's out of the starting lineup, then I think they go Dain and Quincy.
Yeah.
If he's not, then I think they go Quincy. I just don't see him riding the bench. I don't know. We got to see. There's a lot of tall guys. I mean, with Quincy, Dain, and Coleman.
Right. And a lot of experience, too, where it's hard to say, you know, you're not going to be out on the floor for starting the game.
I mean, with that, you'd have Dain Dainja Jr. Say Goody's out. Dain Dainja's a junior. He's a redshirt junior, too, so technically he might be... I always forget how that works. Would he be a senior if he's a redshirt junior? Like, is it his 4th year? Because he came over from Baylor. I don't know how many years he spent over there. This might be his 4th year.
Yeah.
But...
Because if you're a redshirt freshman, technically you're a sophomore.
Okay, so technically he's a senior.
Okay.
So 4th year. So he brings a lot of experience from Baylor. I mean, he's been here for a couple of years, so... you have Quincy... 4 years of experience. Terrence Shannon Jr., 4 years of experience. Coleman, 3 years of experience. Ty has 1, but that's just a lot of experience in your lineup. Those are the teams that win. Like, UConn had experience. You saw a lot of those teams. Creighton went far. They had a lot of experience. San Diego State had a lot of experience. FAU had a lot of experience. Just so much experience across the board with the teams you saw late in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
So it clearly should. That's why we don't see Duke winning much anymore. Kentucky isn't going far. They're all freshmen that leave within a year.
Right.
Nowadays, it's the experience and the transfer portal.
Right. I feel like Kentucky's also kind of gotten out of that
one and done.
That one and done mentality that Calipari was really building there. And I mean, there's only a handful of guys from those dominant Kentucky days that are relevant in the NBA. Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns.
There's a few.
I mean, Anthony Davis, kind of.
Yeah. Tyrese Maxey's one quickly.
But those twins, I forget the
Harris twins.
The Harris twins, I mean, they're nobody.
Yeah.
But they were very dominant in college, so, but...
This is the experience. And I think it'll help Illinois basketball. So I wrap it up with basketball, but we can quickly talk some football. They start their practices.
I'm getting excited about football season.
Yeah, I'm too.
I just bought tickets for Nebraska, Illinois. So looking forward to that. I'm still debating on pulling the trigger for the Penn State just because of the price of tickets right now. Yeah. And I want to sit in a good seat.
What are the prices looking like for Penn State?
Like 100 plus, 80
Penn State
at like
travel.
Some of the
They'll
cheapest.
Travel too.
Right.
So
you want to pack those seats with orange and blue. But again, how do you pass up a chance to see, Penn State at Memorial Stadium?
Illinois should do like a whiteout for that game just to mock Penn State.
Do an orange out.
Or that too.
Something like that.
It's good they don't have orange jerseys. That would have been nice.
I know. But who knows? Maybe they do, and we just haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah. Bielema, once again, doubled down on it's still a quarterback competition.
Okay.
Don't believe it. I think it's Luke Altmaier's job to lose.
Yeah.
But then he also noted Matthew Bailey's hurt. Still a lingering issue. Defensive back. He'll be probably the starting... I feel like he's more of a safety. He's a starter at the end of the day.
Okay.
So they need him back. I think he'll be big. I mean, he's one of the only guys. Well, there's a few returners, but I think he's the most important returner coming back for Illinois. Somebody they need back healthy. It felt like he'll be back next week. He's still dealing with his I want to say it was an ankle issue. I remember seeing him in a boot a long time ago.
Okay.
Something in that foot, ankle area. But hopefully he's back soon. It seemed like injuries, there weren't many, but there's some. But nothing to be too concerned about. Not too many players that would be taken out of the lineup. But I know we'll see. First practice. That's going down tonight or Thursday, whenever you're watching this. Under the lights. Bielema talked really big about there's a few night games to start the year, so it's important for them to practice under the lights because, I mean, it's a different game catching it. I remember in high school, especially he emphasized punt returning, kick returning. Since you're catching that in the light, the black blends in with the brown a little bit, but that's big for them, so we will see.
All right.
We'll see with Illinois football.
Definitely something to be excited about for fall and winter here, so...
Yeah. So that'll do it. I mean, here on Ricky and the Vet. Make sure to check us out on all podcast streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Audible, whatever you listen to, or as well as on YouTube, if you're not already watching us there already. Yeah, that'll do it here on Ricky and the Vet, and we'll see you next week.